Hey friends, welcome back to Crusty Cranks. Alright, so had a subscriber ask me if I would show how I prepare my baits before priming. Now you guys know that I usually don't show the priming of the baits just because it just takes an extra step, and you know, I like to get right on into the painting, and everybody knows that if you know, most of the time you're going to prime with white or black to get your baits ready for your colors and everything. So I try not to show that, but one person asked me why I didn't show that, and it's just basically because it's a step that's kind of you know, it's kind of time consuming. But I did go ahead and show you what I do. Now I got a bunch of, I've already got like 4 different vendor events lined up for this coming spring, and spring's the best time to sell baits. If you're, everybody's excited, they want to get out there and go fishing and everything, and they start wanting to buy tackle and lures and things like that. So usually I try to set up some events in the spring, and I have to go back usually at the end of the season, or actually during the season. I usually have to paint some of the most popular baits that I sell. Once you get out and doing it, I know this is for new people just getting into it and wanting to learn all about it. The pros already know, but once you get out there and you start selling baits, you're going to find your popular baits that you sell a bunch of, and what sizes and what, you know, lip styles and all that. But you have to get ready for that, and I always want to have extra baits, so if I sell one, I can throw another one back up on my rack. So usually at certain times of the season, I'll go through and I'll paint a bunch of baits of my popular patterns, like the pumpkin seed. The pumpkin seed's a real popular one I sell a bunch of in all different styles. So I thought I would go through and kind of show you in this video, you know, what I do to get ready for spring, and getting ready for the big season to sell baits. But yeah, this is what I do to prep. So I won't show you doing all of them, but what I like to do is get all my baits ready, and I'll show you right here. I got the popsicle sticks. You buy a sack of these at Walmart, and then you can buy a box of these clips, like a whole container full of clips for pretty cheap, like 10 bucks. And what I do is I get the right size dowels from Walmart, and then I just make my own clips. And I went and drilled holes in my table, and then over here I added a little extra bar over here on this side that has got all holes in it, so I can mount all my baits up and get them ready. And then it just makes it faster. When you got a bunch of baits to paint, you know, you want to kind of speed up everything. So that's how you make money. I mean, there's not a lot of money in selling baits. So how you make money is being efficient in what you do and how fast you can do it. And then that brings down the cost of your baits, because or the profit, brings up the profit in your baits because you can paint them a lot faster, and just helps you just a way to make more money. So yeah, that's what I do. I get a bunch of them ready. And in this video, I'm going to be doing the FireTiger. I did an old FireTiger video way back, and it was horrible. Really, the video quality wasn't that good, and I didn't do such a good job of it. And even as you progress in painting, your baits, the FireTiger I painted 3 years ago is nothing like the FireTigers I paint now as far as quality goes, and the beauty of the bait. So yeah, I'm going to paint a bunch of FireTigers here, and I won't show you all of them. We'll just paint a couple of them. But this is what I do. I go through and I paint all my bill sizes, all my lure sizes that I want to do in a FireTiger. So I get them all ready. I get them all wiped down. And what I do for wiping down is, first off, I find me an old sock with a hole in it that my toe keeps popping through, or my heel pops through, and it's time to get a new sock. And I like the socks because they're soft, they won't mar up your baits, and I use 91% isopropyl alcohol. And the other thing is the sock kind of holds it on there, so you don't really have to keep soaking it down. Already got my bills all taped up. you know, I didn't really figure I'd show you how to tape them, because that's just a skill that you have to learn and practice and everything, so till you get better at it. But pretty much I just go through and wipe all these down with rubbing alcohol, just to clean all the oils off of them, and the dirt and specks and fly poop and all that other stuff that gets on your baits when they're sitting out. I have a big rack over there that I have all my baits in. It's just something I got from Harbor Freight with a bunch of bins. It's like one of those little tool bin things. And then I just put all my baits in there. And I go through and I wipe them all down. Now, after I wipe them down, I try my best. I mean, sometimes you can't help it, but I try my best not to touch them again with my hands, because the oils on your hands will sometimes leave a spot in your paint. So once I wipe them all down with rubbing alcohol, now the ones that have scales and little patterns on them and stuff, I don't scuff them up. I just wipe them down with rubbing alcohol to get all the oils off. And unless I see something that's really needs a, you know, sometimes on these backs will be a little rough or something, so you might need to take a little pad, or even some really fine sandpaper, like a 2000 grit or something, and just touch it and just work on that spot a little bit. If you sand on them too much, it's going to show up, and so I don't sand on them. Now on the little Normans style baits, or the ones that are smooth, I do go over them with a Scotch-Brite pad. So just anything that's really smooth, I kind of like to rough it up a little bit. And when I say rough, I don't really mean like scratches and stuff in it. I just want to take that little bit of smooth coating off, and it'll kind of look dull like this. So that's what you want. You want it to kind of look dull. And that way it holds that primer in there. And then when you're using the stencils and stuff, especially the ones I sell, you know, they don't peel the paint off. It gives that paint something to grip to. So I'll usually do, you know, I'll rough them up with a little green Scotch-Brite pad. And that's pretty much all I do to prep my baits. Make sure you let them dry. Don't, you know, of course, if you're doing a bunch at once, like I'm doing right now, I've went on and pre-wiped them all down. But you can see that alcohol is still a little bit wet on there. Just make sure it's got a good dry to it, to, you know, before you start hammering it with your primer. You could take a blow dryer and dry them off, but pretty much I just kind of let it evaporate. So that's pretty much all I do when I prep my baits. So I'll prime a couple of these, and then I'll prime all of them off camera, and then we'll get on to doing the FireTiger that wasn't so good when I made it the first time, but I think my pattern's a lot better now. So let's do it again and see what it looks like. All right, let me get the rest of these wiped down and ready to go. I got a few more to go, and I'll bring you back and show you my new airbrush that I'm working with. Okay, I'm back, and I wanted to show you this new Mobius airbrush. This is a 0.2 millimeter. And the folks at Gaahleri, I think that's how it's pronounced, Gaahleri, reached out to me and wanted to know if I'd want to try out one of their airbrushes. And you guys know me, I'm a master airbrush guy, and Iwata, and I thought, what the heck? Those are the only two brands I use, and I said, what the heck, I'll try it out, and I'll do a review on it. And I told them, I said, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell people that I don't like it. So they sent me this Mobius airbrush. It's a 0.2 millimeter, and I painted a few baits with it, and I'm honestly liking it, but I want to paint a bunch of baits with it, see how it holds up overall before I really kind of say, yeah, guys, buy one of these. But the quality of it is I would say is comparable of an Iwata. It's a little heavy, which I like a little bit of a heaviness in my airbrush, just because I feel like I got a little better control. I can be a little more smooth. with it. If it's too light, you tend to want to overspray too much or whatever. But I really like this trigger design. It's not round, it's kind of a little rectangle, and I really like the way it's angled and the way that it pulls back. It's got a real nice spring in there and works real nice. I'm happy with it. I didn't ever have one with an adjustable air trigger right here, air pressure trigger. But I really like having this on here because I'm constantly changing my pressure, and my compressor's down on the floor. I put it down there to keep the noise down in the videos a little bit. And I'm always having to reach down there, but I've been playing around with this and trying to get the feel of it and everything, and I'm really liking it. Now it's a 0.2, so if you're using heavier paints, you really got to work on your thinning and make sure you get your reductions right in your paints. But that's the case with any 0.2 needle. But yeah, I'm liking it, and I'll probably get me a 0.35 because I like to use a 0.35 or even a 0.5 when I'm priming baits, because it just makes it a lot faster, and you get less tip dry and have to keep cleaning off the tip. So normally I like to prime with the 0.5 and the master 0.5. But yeah, we're gonna paint the next 4 or 5 videos with this brush and see how we like it. So I'll put links in the description. I think they got a sale coming up at the end of March, and I'll put a link in the description, and it'll be affiliate link. So if you want to get one of these, it'll help the channel out a little bit, throw a few pennies this way. But yeah, let's give it a try. Let's put it through the works. And like I say, if I don't like it, I'll probably tell you that I don't like it. But like I said, I've painted 3 or 4 baits with it so far and seem to be happy with it. So yeah, let's give it a try. Let's put it to work and see how it holds up painting hundreds of baits. So all right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little white in here. Now, I honestly haven't used this brush for priming. I use, like I said, I like to use my 0.5, but this titanium white's pretty thin, so I'm not using any kind of reducer in it at all. I usually don't, just because it's sprays pretty good. It's a high flow paint. But I think the key to getting a real nice white base, smooth white base, is to do it in stages, which is why I probably won't show you all these, because it's probably gonna take me at least a half hour to prime all these baits. But I start off with a nice thin coat, just like that, and I'll let it dry. And then I'll come back a couple times just to get it to where, if I'm looking for a bait to not be transparent, I'll come back 3 or 4 times. And get a nice, good coverage of white on it. But the key, I think, is you don't want to get a bunch of flakes and specks in it. So if you spray it thin, this brush is real nice. This trigger is real nice. But we'll do a full review on it after I get a bunch of baits painted with it, and I'll give you my thoughts. But I'm liking it. I'm liking it so far. But let me go ahead and get all these primed up, and then we'll get our colors out, and we'll paint some FireTigers. I gotta cut stencils for all these, so that's what we'll do. All right, and get these all primed up. I'll show you how they look before I paint them, and we'll get these FireTigers going. Okay, guys, got all my baits all primed up here, as you can see. Got all 2 of each body style that I'm going to do in this FireTiger. We're calling this FireTiger 2.0 because, let me adjust the camera a little better. We're doing this FireTiger 2.0 because, like I said earlier, once you start painting and then as you get better, you improve on things that you do, or you make different color choices or whatever, and you know, that just makes you a better painter. And it's fun to explore sometimes and try different things. So what I've done is these are all the yellows that I have, well, not counting the apple barrel colors, but these are all the airbrush yellows that I have, that you could use these on a FireTiger. Now, the fluorescent yellow, which is more of a chartreuse, if you look at the golden chartreuse here, the fluorescent yellow is kind of a chartreuse yellow. It's got a little bit of a green tint to it. But since on my FireTiger, I want that real bright orange on the bottom, I'm not going to use a chartreuse. Now, depending on what you got and what you want to use, that's totally up to you. You know, it's your bait, so you make it how you want it. But I've got a lot of different options here too. So scratch out the chartreuse. I'm not going to use those, but you could if you wanted to. And actually, I'm about out of that fluorescent chartreuse yellow. So, and other options I have the Comart Hansa yellow, which has a real nice. Those are good paints. Then I have these US Air Supply, US Art. I don't know why I always say Air Supply, US Art Supply. And as I told you earlier in the last previous video, I think it was, I'm trying to use all these up because they're getting old and starting to get a little flaky and start to cause a little problems. But I really like the choices of colors. Then I have this one's a canary yellow, and if you notice, it's got a little bit more of a red base to it, the oranger color. Then I got transparent yellow, bright yellow, Createx, and then got the bright yellow and a transparent, and a bright yellow and an opaque. So I'm going to use the US Art Supply colors because that'll give me a nice complement between my reds, my fluorescent orange on the bottom, and my fluorescent green on the top, because I'm going to spray the whole bait with the yellow. So let me get the airbrush loaded up, and I'll show you. I did one just to show you. I did a 110, and if you notice, that's the yellow right there. So it's kind of a chartreuse, and I'll paint this one so you can kind of see the differences in the two. Which, like I said, it's totally up to you what you want to do. I like that real bright, deeper red on the bottom, and since I've spent years in printing, I know how complementary colors work together, and that's kind of leaning me towards my choices. Now, if you have the transparent yellow, that'll work too. The Createx bright yellow, that'll work good too. But we're going with the US Art Supply because I want to use these up anyway. So let me get my brush ready and get her loaded up, and I'll start spraying some of these, and we'll get on with it. All right, we got them all primed up with the yellow, and next we're going to hit it with this fluorescent orange on the bottom. Fluorescent orange. All right, and I already did one just to get my brush spraying. This brush is spraying really nice. So all we're going to do is let it fall let that overspray. I want to get a nice fluorescent belly, but I'm going to let that overspray just fall over the sides. Some of the baits are different, so you know, S-crank's a little fatter right there, so you can kind of curve it up. I'm just telling you what I do. Just let it fall. Get a really nice blend with it. And like if I want to do if I'm just doing a couple of these, I would put this on while that yellow's still wet. So I'll get 2 brushes going, and I'll have 1 brush ready. I didn't do that on this video because I want to use this brush only, this Mobius. But yeah, just let it fall down, and it depends on the bait size, how much you want to go, you know, just bring it up. But you can see that overspray going down into that blend. I'm just a big fan of really cool blends. I think the blends look awesome. They sell baits, people love them, and they catch fish. So, best of both worlds. All right, I'm gonna bust these guys out, and I'll run a fast forward on it, a bunch of them, and get the green down. Depending on how you want to hit the tip. That's fire. That's why they call it a FireTiger, I guess. One other thing, if you want a little deeper red, you could put a drop of something in, like a transparent bright red. If you want to get that little bit more of an orange flavor right there, you could even come back with the red and just hint that. Build that blend in a little bit deeper on the bottom into the orange. That yellow's a little chartreusey too, but I wanted to use it up. Looks good. They blended good together. So I'm gonna bust out the rest of these. Okay, last color before we put the black stencil on is fluorescent green. So we're doing the same thing with the green that we did with the orange. We're just gonna let it fall down the shoulders, let the overspray go. And you're just gonna come over the shoulder just a little bit. You wanna keep that yellow in there, so you got that nice smooth graduations from yellow, from green to yellow to orange. And that's what makes an awesome FireTiger. Just be careful your overspray, don't go too far. You want to keep, let me do a couple of them and I'll show you. You want to keep that, still keep that yellow without that green going too far down. And then as you shift the bait around a little bit, you can see how nice they blend together, all 3 colors. Pretty awesome. And then I give them the green around the eye sockets, just because I'm going to put red eyes on them and I want that red eye to pop out. But this fluorescent green is really thin. Watch, I ain't spraying my S-cranks over there. But you want it just soft enough down the sides that when you rotate it, you see green. And when it rotates, it's oranges, yellows, and greens. Pretty awesome. One of my favorite and probably one of my best selling baits right here. People love this bait. That's why you see me paint a bunch of them. All right, let's jam. Okay, we're ready to get the blacks on these things. Look, got all my stencils cut. I went through and I only cut one set for each bait because I'm running a little low on material. I got some coming, but I was like, well, I can go ahead and cut at least one set. Now, normally what I do is if I'm doing a bunch, I'll cut all the stencils and then stick them all on all the baits on one side, go spray all one side. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do a few of them and just show you. I'll show you how I stick one on, and yeah, let's get started. We'll finish these baits up. It's been a good job. Okay, here's how you're going to line these up. And they're sticky, so you might have to do it once or twice. I'll line up the eye, and then I don't push it down yet. I'm just looking to make sure I'm on the whole bait where it needs to be. Sometimes they'll stick on you and you can just pull it back up. I'm trying to do this in front of the camera. Usually I do it up close where I can see, but line it up. Just don't press it down all the way till you got it where you want it. And they're not going to be perfect. Sometimes they're going to be off a little bit, but most of the time fish are only going to see one side of it anyway. So, and I try to look for my colors. That's why I like the black vinyl, because I can see my colors through there and I can almost see that I'm in the right spot. It might be a hair low, but I kind of want it to touch the top a little bit. So if you're not in the right place, just take it off and I kind of look through, see the eye, and then run it down the bait. Kind of like that. We'll see what it looks like. It looks like it might be still a little high, but that's okay. For right now, we'll just leave it right there and see where it comes out. I've got a bunch of them to do, so I'm sure they're all not going to be perfect. Try to, but all right, I got my little brush, because I like to use a little brush. This is my black brush pretty much for doing stencil work. I'll keep it just mostly with black in it all the time. That way when I'm doing stencils, I ain't got to keep switching brushes. And this little bowl, I don't waste a lot of it. Because really it don't take much black to do a bunch of stencils. But I get it on there, and then I make sure first that I'm spraying at the right pressure. I don't want it real heavy. Right before I get ready to spray it, I'll make sure I'm all still stuck down. Give it one last press, especially if I've got a bunch of them already stuck on there. You have to kind of go back over them. And the key with these stencils is not soaking down in the last one. I don't know, I've got 10 roars out of them sometimes. Sometimes, you know, even if you want it real dark, you can just hit it a couple times. Looks like I might be off a little bit right there at the top. Probably gonna be a little high, but the beauty is I can just push it down, spray it a little bit. And I'll usually go on to the next one, just let it dry. But I'm gonna do a bunch of these, and then I'll bring you in and out, show you different ones. But yeah, this is kind of a long form video, but hopefully you pick up some good skills on painting a bunch of baits at one time. But let me get going, and I'll film a little bit of it and put some clips in. See, even if you go around that corner a little bit, it doesn't hurt because the whole stencil still shows up good. There's a little shading on the top. You can almost see, like, the eye's off a little bit. The eye spot just gets you close, lets you know how far back. But I always look at it and make sure that I'm on my bait. And if I got to move it, if you got to drop it down a little bit, drop it down. That's the beauty of these little stencils. That eye hole doesn't have to be perfect. You can move it down wherever you want it. If you want it to sit lower, you know, and if you got room. This little bait here is pretty tight, but I kind of like how it goes around it. So here's another one. This one's just the same one. It's just a deeper diver. Just spray them light. Sometimes you get in a hurry and flood them out. And that paint that's under there, it's not going to stick as good, so it's the beauty of having a Cricut. Then you just cut you some new ones. All right, I'm going to bust the rest of these out and flip them over, get the other sides on, and I'll show you putting some eyes on it. Pick out some eyes. All right, got the tape off a bunch of these. I like to get all the ones that's got the same size eye together first. And then that way, this S-crank's a little bigger, but the rest of them will get this little 5.5 milliliter or millimeter. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick the S-crank once. Now I like to lay them all one direction. So then as I flip them over, then I'll know that I still got some to finish. A little bit. These red eyes. Okay, we've got all the eyes on. We've got one last step here before we put our UVLS on there and our epoxy. We're going to put our logo on there. And I've got these little water slide decals I printed. And I've done this before, but I don't think I've done it on the videos. So, yeah, I like to clip the little corners off. I like to try to get it as close as the logo I can, just so it don't show up as much. And this one's not too hard. I just clip off the corners pretty much. And then we're going to drop it in this water. I got a little bit of it's a little warm. I like to get it a little warm. It seems to help soak up paper a little bit. And you want to leave it in there until it gets pretty saturated. If you try to take it out too early and peel it off, it don't have enough water underneath of it to stick. So you want to let that paper get saturated. And I'll throw a couple, 2 or 3 of them in there at once, and let them get soaking. I don't think you can do it too much. The other thing I do is when I print these out, I spray a little coat of a clear matte or gloss finish on top of them. I think it's like some kind of art supply. I don't have it in my brain right now, but it kind of keeps it, especially if you're printing them with an inkjet, so that way when you put your wet fingers on it or it gets wet, it doesn't smear off on you. Kind of seals it in. But I'll do one and I'll finish up the rest of them. But yeah, I don't think I've ever showed on it. I might have showed it on a video, I can't remember. But almost all the lures I sell, I put my logo on there. Most of the ones I do on videos, you usually don't see me putting a logo on them, just because I'm only doing 1 or 2 of them, and most of the time I'm keeping them for fishing anyway. So, but I try to find a good flat spot, and you get it sliding off a little bit. Catch your finger on it and just pull it out. And then I like to take a little wet Q-tip, kind of place it on there. And that's it. Got that one on there a little crooked. You want to try to refrain from taking it off and on too much, but that one's already stuck, so it is what it is. But when you get it soaked enough, it'll slide right off of there pretty easy. And it don't really matter which way I put them on, one side or the other. I don't think the fish notice. In fact, I don't know if they can read or not. Maybe. Before you press it down, just kind of center it on there a little bit. But like I said, you want to kind of make sure you don't move it around too much. There's a good one. All right, and that's another reason why I sprayed it with the top coat first earlier before I put my stencil on, because I knew I was going to be doing this. And if your lure's wet, you're going to, obviously, if you don't have a sealant on there and you go to put that wet sticker on with your finger or whatever, that's going to mess up your paint job. So, all right, I'm going to bust out the rest of these, and then I'll show a quick scene of me. I'm going to coat all these with UVLS top coat. Actually, it's a Createx top coat. I like to use the gloss top coat. And there's another one that's a high gloss top coat. You can use either one of them. 5604 is the one I'm using. And it really helps with your epoxy, and when your epoxy goes on, and especially with these little water slide logos on there. They won't, it seals them in. So when your epoxy goes on, they won't fall off. But, all right, I'm going to bust the rest of these out. And I'll show you a quick spray of that gloss top coat. And then we'll get some epoxy on it. Okay, guys, it's like 11 going on 11:30. Just finished up epoxying all these with their second coat. And they're in the box here spinning around. So I'll probably leave them. I've got a timer on it. I can set a timer on my box. So we got 22 lures in here. I got plenty of room for more. I think I got 30, I think I can do 36 total. But the long ones I have to position in between the lights so they don't hit the lights. But yeah, we're gonna let these cook for a couple hours just to make sure that final coat's good all the way through. And I'll bring you back and show you a few of them. I'm not gonna show you all of them, it'd take too long. But I just wanted to show you that they're all in the final stages, getting ready to finish them up. And I'll be ready to put hooks and split rings on them. I'll let them sit for a day or two, because even though the epoxy's all cured, it's still always a little tacky where your fingerprints show up and stuff. So I like to let them sit for a couple days before I actually start putting split rings and hooks on them, unless I'm in a hurry. But I got plenty of time for these, so we'll just let them hang on the rack, and we'll get them all ready to box up. So I'll bring you back and show you a couple of them, and we'll wrap this video up. Okay guys, I got them all done. I brought it out here in the light a little better so you can see it. This is the rack I use. It's just an old clothes rack, extendable clothes rack, and I put some wires across it. I like to hang my lures on here for 24 to 48 hours. That way the epoxy gets set real good and hard before I start fingerprinting it all up and everything. Since I got plenty of time on these, I'll let them sit here for, well, 48 hours or so before I put the split rings and the hooks on them. But yeah, that's all of them. All of them we did. And let's take a look at a couple of them close up, and we'll wrap this video up. Okay, here's a little closer look. Hey, turned out awesome, really. I'm really happy with the Gaahleri airbrush. Let me get the box out. So it's the Mobius 0.2 airbrush. Pretty nice brush actually so far. I've painted a little bit with it. I'm liking it, but you know, we'll keep using it in the next few videos, and yeah, give it a solid workout for sure. But yeah, they turned out really good. I'm really happy. Now all the stencils will be available on the Lure Stencil site, so if you want to paint some of these, you got a certain bait that you want to use them on. I've got the DTs, the 1.5 square bills, 2.5 S cranks, the 6.5 inch deep divers, the 5-inch jerks, and the 110s, and I even got the swim bait. So I'm getting ready to upload a whole bunch of new stencils, so you guys can check that out. I got some new designs. I usually don't put the new designs up until I do a video on them, so I can show you what the design looks like. Plus, I got to test all these out myself just to make sure they all fit on the baits right and everything. But speaking of that, if you look at this Norman little end, when you line this one up right, it looks killer down the back. That FireTiger pattern just looks killer down the back. It's a little tricky, but you know, once you get used to lining them stencils up, you can usually line them up pretty quick. I had a couple that just came off the mark just a little bit, but you know, it ain't gonna stop them from somebody buying them. But I'm really happy with the blends. I love blends. That's kind of, I guess, you know, some guys like crawl, some guys like do different things, but I like to create blends. I mean, that's just, I don't know, I just like it. I just think it's fun to create a nice blend. And with that brush, it really did a fine job with the 0.2 needle in it, so I was real happy with it. But yeah, so get yourself some of these colors and paint you up some of these FireTigers, and use this pattern. And I guarantee if you're selling baits, you'll go out and sell these. And if you're not selling baits and you're fishing or giving them away, you're going to make somebody happy catching something on them, because they are fire. I've used them before myself. So colors we used was the US Art Supply Opaque bright yellow on the base. Then we came back with the fluorescent orange. Then we went to the fluorescent green. Same colors, same Createx paints. Of course, I always base with titanium white unless I run out of it. But I just bought another bottle of it, so I ain't gonna run out for a little bit. I buy the bigger bottles because I burn up that stuff pretty much. And then before I put my stencil on, I did hit it with a coat of UVLS. It's not necessary, I don't think, but you know, if you like to, you know, want to make sure your paint don't come off or get scuffed up or scratched up. And it does really help when you put your final epoxy on. If you can see, these things are smooth as glass. I mean, and I used the Illuminate. I'm using Illuminate and the Solarez. I warm them up a little bit in the microwave, just to soften them up a little bit when it's cold. It kind of stays chilly down here in my shop, so I'll warm them up for 30 seconds or so. But yeah, man, I'm just real happy with them. I know people are going to be happy when they pick one up. And then I got my logo on the bottom. Like I said, that's the first video I think that I've showed it. But yeah, it's just the stuff you used when you made models back in the day. For all you older cats like me, the water slide, you can get that at like Hobby Lobby or Amazon, whatever. But yeah, okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got a bunch. I know I always say this, but I'm really going to try to slam out the videos in between working on the website and getting the site up. We worked hard on it today for about 8 big hours. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys that have joined the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Ring that notification bell so you get notified when we put up the next video. And always remember, stay crusty, my friends.